Intrepid Studios' July monthly development update for their upcoming MMORPG Ashes of Creation has concluded. As always, I'll leave chapter markers below. We got some cool stuff to talk about in this one. Since I wasn't able to cover their June combat update, I'll also have a little bit on that at the very end of the video. Let's jump on in. I'll start off with the coolest part of the video right now, even though I usually save character art for later on. And this is the world premiere of the concept art for the Tulnar Race. The Tulnar have been a race shrouded in mystery for several years now, and we finally got our first glimpse. Like I mentioned, this is concept art, but Intrepid is very good at turning their concept art into 3D models. So you can almost look at this like it is a screenshot of in-game 3D models. So you can see that this is a very unique looking race with many different racial influences for its appearance. And the reason for this is that the Tulnar are descendants from the races that were left behind on the world of Vera when the Exodus occurred, which in simple terms is like the apocalypse. Those that were left behind sought refuge in the Underrealm, and over time they became a race of their own, which is now called the Tulnar. And many of their features and skin tones certainly give that Underrealm vibe. The first guy on the left here has heavy influences from the Orc race, and it almost worries me a little bit as it might outshine the actual Renkai orcs a bit, but really cool regardless. The middle Tulnar has this kind of werewolf vibe going, maybe a little bit of elf you can see in there. It's kind of like a nature type look. And the guy on the right is major Dragonborn vibes, if you ask me. The cool thing is that we, the players, will be able to dial up and down influences from the races of Vera in character creation. And you can even mix and match a bit of these three styles together. These three guys are somewhat representative of what the fully dialed into primary three appearances will look like. I'll be back to the character art in a little bit, but now it's time to talk about the desert biome demonstration. This is our first in-game look at the desert biome, which will be a playable biome in the Alpha 2. Definitely giving off a bit of Lion King vibes here, and I gotta say that I think it looks really good. Right here you can see this really cool snail mount. The environments are really starting to shape up, especially when compared to what we saw in the Alpha 1, and some of these creatures we actually did see also in the Alpha 1, such as the Longstrider. Pausing for a moment, you can see what appears to be a dungeon that the player is approaching, and this next scene is my personal favorite from the demonstration. So peaceful, serene, and yet a little bit dangerous. I remember plenty of areas like that in the Alpha 1. This drone flyover right here is trying to give us viewers the feeling of how vast this desert biome is. And as someone who played the Alpha 1 and got to experience a little bit of the flying mounts, which when the game comes out, those players are going to be few and far between, I got to really sense and feel what Intrepid's going for with the vast open world feeling. I think they're doing a great job, and you can see it demonstrated in this desert biome as well. Going back, you can see that this snail mount has now stood up and has 4 legs. Intrepid is going all out on the mount game, and I'm sure that's partly because of cosmetics to make money, but the mounts have been truly an incredible experience. In the Alpha 1, I did a speed test for all the mounts. It was a lot of fun. There's a lot of variety. Right here, the player starts to approach a statue in the distance, but unfortunately Steven wouldn't give us any information on the statue. We have some realistic hippos, a nice touch to the game. And then as we get closer to the statue, I'm going to pause right here. You'll notice that there is some sort of circular material flying around in the air. And in the next scene, we can see that sand is falling down from the statue's hands, but I think there's a little bit more going on here, probably something divine related. And you'll also notice the circlet on the statue's head has a symbol on it, but I don't know what that is off the top of my head. If one of you guys knows, let us know below in the comments. That giant scorpion is confirmed to be a raid boss, and raid bosses are 40-man bosses. It appears as if it's more of an open world creature, because it doesn't look like the player is in a dungeon. And that was the desert biome presentation. Now I'm going to quickly go over a new tool that Intrepid has designed for Unreal Engine 5. I'll do the character art that we missed, and then end the video by quickly going over the June update with the combat. The new tool that Intrepid has developed, which is in its early form, is called Landform, and you can see some of the devs using it in the video footage. To make a long story short, and I probably don't understand everything fully, Landform is being used in Unreal Engine 5, which Intrepid recently switched to, and it allows the Intrepid devs to do things in-engine, such as painting, geometry work, texture work, and so on. Where before, when they were on Unreal Engine 4, Intrepid for the most part had to use several separate outside applications. So before, they would have to paint things in Painter or Mixer and then export that to another application and then into the engine itself. With Landform, much of this process can all be done in Unreal Engine 5, which of course greatly helps an artist's workflow, not only making it more enjoyable for an artist because they don't have to be working in 3 different applications sending files back and forth, but it also greatly speeds up the overall process, which is important for an MMO with such a huge world. Intrepid can build and alter things in the actual world itself. Moving on to the rest of the character art. This right here is some concept art of the Empyrean elves, which are the elves that have that high elf type look. Like I said before, Intrepid does a great job turning their concept art into great 3D models that represent the art well, so it will probably look exactly like this. This is a little bit newer of a direction for the Renkai orcs, but don't worry, if you don't like green, they can still have red skin. This is the Guise of the Negotiator set, which is a desert-inspired type costume. Right here is the Lightfoot Levert, which is this fast-looking hopping mount. I'm sure it'll be a blast to use that one. And then we have the Farm Ducklings. I'm not sure what these guys are, if they're just creatures that run around or maybe like little pets at your house. Intrepid didn't really expand on that. And then we have the Shade Duckling with this flower helm. It's really cute. I gotta say, this guy is really cute. And then I'll show you the Tulnar once again, which is the race we have not seen until today. All right, now I'm going to very briefly go over what the gist of the June development update was about. And that update was about combat, specifically basic weapon attacks. Keep in mind that this is just the first small combat update. We'll be getting plenty more combat updates over the course of this year. The big thing that Intrepid has been battling with is split body versus root motion attacks. At the start of Alpha 1, everything was root motion. When you swung your weapon, your character's body was stuck in that direction and in that animation. There wasn't really much that a player could do. There wasn't any player agency. Halfway through the Alpha 1, Intrepid gave us split body motion, where our legs and movement was separate from our upper body movement, which was swinging our weapon. Going too much in either direction isn't really that great, as if you have too much root motion, you feel like you have no control as a player, and if split body isn't done correctly, it can feel very, very floaty, something that we did feel in the Alpha 1. Intrepid has now arrived at a first pass of a mixture between both of these styles. They've been focusing really hard on agency versus weight versus impact with the basic weapon attacks, which is what this combat update was about, only about the basic weapon attacks, not about class abilities and all that stuff. This greatsword is a heavy weapon. It does have some root motion, and to a certain degree you have to respect the weight of the weapon once you swing it. You still have a lot more control than what you might have felt in the Alpha 1, but with some of the swings you have to respect the start of the animation and the weight of the weapon. You can't necessarily do a 180 in the middle of a swing. This is a really good representation of how heavier weapon basic attacks will be presented in the Alpha 2. On the opposite side of the spectrum, we have the light weapons, and these dual daggers that Steven just pulled out are some of the lightest in the game. Light weapons will have very small bits of root motion, but they offer much more agency and motion direction than a heavy weapon does. Daggers will never really slow you down, while a greatsword may slow you down at times, such as the animation leading up to a strike. This is really important for weapon balancing, as the daggers of course do less damage per strike. Overall, I think it looks pretty good, and it's a huge improvement from the Alpha 1. And other than that, Intrepid talked about us having customization control over damage numbers, and this goes for size, color composition, different damage icons, cumulative damage color, and so on. Pretty cool features that we'll have access to. And the last thing I want to point out is the weapon trailing in the ground decals. You'll notice when the player does a heavy strike which hits the ground, you can see the imprint of that strike into the ground. A nice detail that was not present in the Alpha 1. And that'll be it for today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching. As of right now, I typically cover Ashes of Creation once a month with the development updates, but as we get closer to Alpha 2, it'll become a big part of this channel, and I'll of course be streaming and making tons of video content. Thanks again for 100,000 subscribers. You guys are the best. Catch you on the next one.